Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Channel Dad Bryon Lape Reads. And here we have from the American Institute for Economic Research. So AIER. This was something I saw posted, I think, on Twitter day or so ago, yesterday, a couple days ago, I guess, and I finally get into it. But anyway, this is pretty interesting. So this is a picture from Woodstock. Woodstock occurred in the middle of a pandemic. This is something I didn't realize and then I looked it up and I was like, oh, the Hong Kong flu. Yeah. Now, this is a different virus strain. It's not a SARS related virus, so who knows if that had something to do with it. I don't know. I know in 1918 we did a few things similar to what we're doing now, and they were just as ineffective then. So again, I still think the Swedish model is much better to do. So this is a woman. Okay, so this is Jeffrey A. Tucker. Writing this, in my lifetime, there was another deadly flu epidemic in the United States. The flu spread from Hong Kong to the United States, arriving in December 1968 and peaking a year later. It ultimately killed 100,000 people in the U.S., mostly over the age of 65. But that's kind of what we're dealing with now, right? It's amazing. Again, it's deteriorating health and other factors. And despite what a lot of people are saying now about vaccines and all their stuff, people had vaccines then, but nothing close to what we have now, yet it's still affected them. So life span in the U.S. in those days was 70, whereas it's 78 today. Population was 200 million as compared to 328 million today. It's also a healthier population with low obesity. So that is correct, right? We didn't have all the overeating of crap that really exploded in the 70s. Okay, so it would be possible to extrapolate the death data based on population demographics. We might be looking at 250,000 deaths today from this virus. Who knows? Maybe. It has to run its course. It's probably going to run its course for another year. So in terms of lethality, is a deadly and scary COVID-19, if not more. So, though we shall have to wait to see. In 1968, Nathaniel L. Maury, in national interest, the H3N2 pandemic killed more individuals in the U.S. than the combined total number of American fatalities during both Vietnam and Korean wars. And yet there were people protesting, not so much Korea, but definitely Vietnam. No one protesting this virus. And this happened in the lifetime of every American over the age of 52. And now, granted, I was about 6 months old when this hit. I was 5 years old and have no memory, and obviously I don't either. My mother vaguely remembers being careful in washing surfaces and encouraging her mom and dad to be careful. Otherwise, mostly forgotten today. Why is that? Nothing closed. Schools stayed open. All businesses did too. You could go to the movies. You could go to bars and restaurants. John Fund has a friend who reports having attended a Grateful Dead concert. In fact, many people have no memory of awareness of the famous Woodstock concert in 1969, August 19th, planned in January during the worst period of death. Actually occurred during a deadly American flu pandemic that only peaked globally 6 months later. There was no thought given to the virus, that which, like ours today, was dangerous mainly for non-concert going demographic, right? Because of the young, energetic, healthy Americans, citizens or people who went to this concert. Typically, it was their music, right? Stock markets didn't crash. Congress had passed no legislation, so we didn't have great debts and all this other nonsense. We didn't shut everything down. Federal Reserve did nothing. Not a single governor acted to enforce social distancing, flattening the curve, even though thousands of people were hospitalized or banning of crowds. No mothers were arrested for taking their kids to other homes. No surfers were arrested. No daycares were shut down. I get it. So in the pandemic, but it never became a big issue. And I think it's also part of, they hyped us up, and I'm still convinced that it's something to do with Trump, that people don't like him. We didn't vote the right way and they're still irritated about it. Very sore losers. And it's very, very sad. In 1968, 70 news outlets devoted curious attention to the virus while training their lenses on other events such as the moon landing in the Vietnam War and the cultural upheaval and civil rights. Yeah, there's a lot of other stuff going on too. It's kind of like the Spanish flu in 1918, actually started in 1917, but World War I was going on, and that was pretty much most of what papers covered, except in Spain. Spanish press did, but Spain wasn't involved in World War I. That's why it's called the Spanish flu, even though it didn't come from Spain. The only actions governments took was to collect data, watch and wait, encourage testing and vaccines and so on, which we don't have any really good virus vaccines, especially for flu. The medical community took the primary responsibility for disease mitigation, as one might expect. So I thought this was a short article. It's not as though it had governments unwilling to intervene in other matters. We had the Vietnam War, social welfare, public housing, urban renewal, and the rise of Medicare and Medicaid. We had a president swearing to cure all poverty, because that was, in 68 would have been Johnson. Government was as intrusive as it ever been in history. Yeah, probably that's when it really got going. Which raises the question, why was this different? Was the difference we have mass media invading our lives with endless notifications blowing up on our pockets? Was there some change in philosophy such that now we think politics is responsible for all existing aspects of life? Was there a political element here and then the media blew this widely out of proportion, okay, as a revenge against Trump and his deplorables? Or did our excessive adoration, okay, this is a long-winded question, okay, involve governments into violating human rights of billions of people? Maybe all these are factors, or maybe there's something darker and nefarious at work. Regardless, they have all some explaining to do. By way of personal recollection, my own mother and father were part of a generation that believed that they had developed sophisticated views on viruses. They understood that less vulnerable people, getting them not only strengthen the immune system, but contributed to disease mitigation by reaching herd immunity. This is exactly what Sweden did. And now we have the World Health Organization saying, yep, they did it right. And going forward, they're the model to follow. Yet no one has yet. They had a whole protocol to make a child feel better about getting sick. I got a sick toy, unlimited ice cream, fixed rate rub on the chest. Oh, I missed that. Humidifier in room, so on. That would constantly congratulate me on building immunity. They did their very best to be happy about my viruses. Okay, so if we use government lockdowns, then like we use them now, Woodstock, which changed music forever and still resonates today, maybe. Would never have occurred. The Monterey Pop Festival is also very influential. Most people forget about how much, but again, that was the next year and still in the middle of all this stuff. What happened between then and now? Was there some kind of lost knowledge as happened with scurvy when we once had sophisticated, for the contrast between 1968 and 2020 can't be more striking. They were smart. We are idiots, or at least our governments are. Yep. That is, then there's no, I don't think there's any comments. There's a subscribe button, and then there's another article. This is essentially what Sweden did. Sweden isolated the most vulnerable. They did some social distancing on their own. They didn't mandate anything. Some businesses closed down. Some businesses decided to have lower capacity. People are out in the sun. And people are all been out of shape about, they have a bit more death than everybody else, but everybody else is going to be getting to their death rate. But it's a very low death rate. So the death toll, yes, and then as they build herd immunity, it's going to go down, whereas everybody else still has to build it. And there's all kinds of fake tests. I mean, it is a political, this is why I said when this whole crap started, medical emergencies do not have political solutions. And yet, that's what we're dealing with. It's political solutions because that's all it is. Very good. I like this. He just asks a lot of questions, but he doesn't really answer anything because some ways you don't know. You don't really know what's going on and why people are doing what they're doing. So there you go. So what do you think? Do you think Jeffrey is just out of touch? I think he has a very good point. And, but you bring this point up and people will lambast you, even though it's probably correct. All right. Thank you very much for stopping by. Thanks for commenting and sharing all this stuff. And what do you think of all this craziness? I don't want to go out in conspiracy land, but there's definitely more afoot than we believe. See ya. Goodbye. I tried a couple different versions of that. It didn't work. That thing's okay. That still looks good. All right. 3, 2, 3, 2, 1.